Ho with the one and only Dramaman. I'll let him introduce himself because he gives the best introduction there is out there. I'm the reigning, defending, undisputed NFC West champion. And me and him are going to be going over some free agency rumor mill today. Spoke to some of the coaches about who might be free agency, but Drama, hit him with that intro.
What's going on, PML family? It's your main man, Drama Man, coming to y'all live with the boy Mally, man. We're gonna do a little free agency off-season preview, man. Fresh off of my loss against the New England Patriots, you know what I'm saying? They say it's one and done, but I made the playoffs, so if you ain't make the playoffs, you can just go ahead and keep it moving with all the BS, man. But the off season upon us. Now it's time for everybody to project into the future. You know what I'm saying? Start to take a look around the league and see what they're gonna have to do to be able to compete. And if you didn't make the playoffs, you got to try and get your team right for the playoffs next season. And if you made the playoffs, you for sure don't want to fall off. So let's gonna go ahead and take a deep dive right quick and see what some of these teams got some weaknesses and some strengths, and try to forecast what Cat's gonna try to do this off season.
Yeah, man. Always good to come out of playoffs, even if it was one and done. That does hurt, but at least we made it, right?
For sure, for sure. You know what I'm saying?
But yeah, it's that time of year to get excited about free agency, drafts, and all that. So first, you want to start out with you think that we go with the AFC East first?
All right, let's do that. Let's do that.
All right. I'm gonna check out what the Patriots got here. Do you by any chance know who all hit free agency for them this season?
Well, I'm looking at the roster right now, and as of right now, there's a few players with a year remaining, but I'm not sure if these guys are hitting free agency this off season or if they're hitting free agency next off season. So, this matter of fact, I think all of these guys are going to be hitting free agency next season. So, looking at the roster, you have Tyler Eifert with a year remaining, Marcus Cannon, Cam Newton, Jawan Bentley, Bo Allen, D tackle, and John Simon, the left end, and Adrian Phillips. But a couple of these guys are on 2-year contracts, Phillips, Simon, and Newton, and I could have swore he had to re-sign Newton last season. So I believe these guys may have another season under their belt before they hit free agency. Yeah, so if you look, I'm looking at the Raiders now. He's got a bunch of guys with 0 years remaining. Those are all the players that are hitting free agency. So it looks like the Patriots might have the same team returning this season. Now he's got a few guys who are older and maybe are a threat to retire. You got Devin McCourty, who's 34 years old. His twin brother retired at the end of last season, so maybe Devin McCourty's out the door. You got Marcus Cannon, who's 33. He could possibly retire. Dante Hightower, he's 31, but seems like the Patriots may be returning the same team. Now, with that, they only have $940,000 in cap space, and so that may hinder him from being able to make any moves in the offseason, in which case this team is going to take a hit, man, because like I said, you got a few guys that are getting older. A couple guys are, hitting that 30-year mark, and so we're going to start to look to see those guys regress. But outside of, Devin McCourty, Cam Newton, Lawrence Guy, and Hightower getting older, the Patriots may be coming back next season with a really similar looking roster.
Yeah, sounds like it. I did reach out to the Natural to ask him if he had any notable free agencies that he'd like to go public, talking about if he's going to re-sign them or not. And he did mention I guess Bentley is a free agent this season, or he's cutting them, one or the other. Because he told me that Bentley was going to be someone from his team that was going to hit free agency. He said he tried to deal him during the regular season, and he said those trades got denied. He said he was being blocked by the trade committee. He said he believes there's some bias there, that they was blackballing him from trading.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Jawan Bentley is one of those guys, man. He's 82 overall, 25 years old. Now it looks like he will be hitting free agency. So, okay, I'm looking at the salaries. 2022, there's no salary cap hit for all these guys with the 1 year remaining. So I do believe because the Natural's still in it, his guys have the 1 year remaining. So that means Adrian Phillips, Bo Allen, Tyler Eifert, John Simon, Jawan Bentley, Cam Newton, and Marcus Cannon all possibly could be hitting free agency. So I doubt he'll re-sign Marcus Cannon, who's 33 years old and only a 74 overall. He said he's not re-signing Jawan Bentley. I doubt he re-signs John Simon, who's 30 and 81 overall. Tyler Eifert, he won't re-sign. Bo Allen, Adrian Phillips. He may re-sign Adrian Phillips. So there's a good chunk of guys that could be hitting the free agency from New England this offseason, man. So in the event that he lets all of these guys go, he's gonna be looking to replace Cam Newton at the quarterback position. Maybe he'll ride it out with the young rookie that he drafted. Um, they also be in a looking for a right outside linebacker. If he's letting Javon Bentley go, and possibly could be looking to hit the market in free agency and get some help in his front seven. He's got two left end and the D tackle who I believe both see playing time, so they hit in free agency. Um, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he does to try and fill those holes.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of those older guys he could possibly let go. Those dudes do end up usually being picked up. Usually later on in the free agency, someone trying to get them on a cheaper deal than they wanted just to fill in some spots. So if they do go, they might end up there. But Bentley not a bad option for anybody looking for an outside linebacker. He doesn't have crazy speed, which is probably why Natural let him go because we know his style. He likes those speedy linebackers with like 85 plus speed. He's only got 81, but he does have really nice block shed ability and tackling. So he's a good run stopping linebacker if you need one.
For sure.
I could see Natural maybe going for a true number one wide receiver in the offseason. He was, I know, asking about a couple guys on my team, such as Tyler Lockett, things like that. So he has two guys now that have emerged. The rookie Trey Nixon and Demir Bird has been from the beginning kind of one of his go-to guys, but really his best guy is Bird at 82. So I could see him going for a true number one, like up in the 90s area of a wide receiver.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Like I said, it'll be in terms of Nat seems like he's always been a guy who kind of gets the most out of the least. You know what I'm saying? So in terms of him, going out and trying to get a wide receiver, like you said, he's got Conley, he's got Newsome, Nixon, Bird. And he's really been able to build those guys up. So I think he might ride it out with the young guys. The place where I think he may look to improve is to get a tight end with some speed. You got Devin Asiasi with only 84 speed. And also, like we said, that front seven on defense is going to need some help because I think, as Devin McCourty retires, if he doesn't re-sign the free safety Adrian Phillips, he's going to definitely need some help in that secondary. And so I think he'll really be focused on addressing um, the defensive side of the ball and just trying to, get some help either up front or in the secondary. You can't really have a defense in this league that isn't stacked somewhere. If you got a powerful front seven like mine, you could be, maintain the run. You can maybe get some pressure on the quarterback, or if you got solid guys who can cover on the back end, like the Patriots have right now, you could just play cover two man and just really let your guys go ahead and lock down the opponent's receivers. You know what I'm saying? But it's definitely be key to see what moves he tries to make because as we'll see with these other teams in the NFC East, these other guys have a lot of flexibility with their rosters and they really have a lot of young guys who are going to be coming into their own over these next couple seasons.
Yeah, yeah, I could definitely see that, especially with Phillips. He's definitely not the answer if McCourty does retire. I mean, he's already 29 himself and only 86 speed, so yeah, I could definitely see all that happening. Defensive
For
focus.
sure.
All right, so with that, I think we can go ahead and move on from the Patriots and head over to the Bills.
All
According
right.
to Daddy Leagues is showing their upcoming notable free agents as Sterling Shepard, Ndamukong Suh, Jerry Hughes, Lamar Miller, and Trey Hendrickson. Now, this coach I wasn't able to reach out to at all, so whether he signed any of those guys or not is completely out in I'm in the dark on that one. But a couple of those guys are older, like Nagamkin Sue and Jerry Hughes, and were on pretty expensive contracts. Lamar Miller, he may look to bring back, but he was kind of just like a free agency pickup because he had no speed at that position. So you might just move on from him and look to find that in the draft or something.
Yeah, so actually looking at the Buffalo roster, man, he's got a lot of guys that could be hitting free agency. He's got the D tackle H Phillips. He's got Jerry Hughes, like you said, right in. Zach Banner, left tackle, and Dominican Sue, who Josiah Hendrickson, who's another right in. Jay Mills, cornerback. Trying to look for guys that are worth mentioning. A Landon Roberts, who's a middle linebacker. Lamar Miller, Sterling Shepard, D. Steiner, who's a safety, and K. Sales, who's a cornerback. So it definitely looks like there's a lot of guys will be hitting the market from this team, which means he'll have some flexibility in cap space in order to try to, make some moves and maybe make some splashes in free agency. Just looking at the guys who are going to be, let go, he's going to definitely need to address the front seven. He's got, four D linemen total who will be dropping off his roster. He's got the running back Lamar Miller, middle linebacker, like you said, Sterling Shepard. So um, Bills has proven to be very dangerous, coming into the league, and he's a guy that has seemed to get the most out of, what he had to work with on his roster. I mean, with Sterling Shepard being, well, that's actually Sterling Shepard is really just the number 3 wide receiver, but he has Coleman, what's this guy's first name? He's got Corey Coleman, who's a 76 overall. He's got Isaiah McKenzie, who's a 77 with 92 speed. Then he's got Stephon Diggs and Jamar Chase. He has a rookie by the name of Elijah Cooks, who is a 90 speed. I mean, really, he's set at wide receiver. So losing Shepard will just, have some money that's available for him. He may look to add a tight end as he only has Dawson Knox. Um, Offensive line is pretty stellar. Um, like I said, with the guys that he's letting go on the D line, he may need to hit free agency and try to address his D line. His linebacking core is pretty solid. Secondary, he's got Tre'Davious White, he's got Levi Wallace, but then after that, it's kind of a drop off. He's got Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer, who are still under contract, but those guys are getting a little bit older. So we'll see. Like I said, he'll have to address his front seven, and we'll see if he goes out in free agency and tries to make some splashes to get some big names in to get on that front line, along with what's the guy's name? Ed Oliver from Houston.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, and he
Yeah.
has two decent young ends as well. He picked up from the last draft. He got Quiddy Pay, and he's a 22-year-old, 82 overall. So he's already a better option right there than Jerry Hughes, who he's
Mm.
going to be losing. And that's basically letting go of Jerry Hughes is just getting rid of a bad contract for him. So that'll actually be a good thing. And he's already got a guy there, but he could be looking for some depth there. And he's also got another young guy on the left end, 22-year-old AJ Epinesa. Not
Yeah.
not a speedy guy, but I mean for his age, he's up there. He doesn't have anybody that's really like an X factor or anything in that front seven, like you said, besides Edmonds. So he might look to add, like a right outside linebacker. I see he's got a speedy guy there, but he's nothing special. With block shedding is only 58. So
Mm-hmm.
he may look to add an elite linebacker there, especially with the flexibility he'll have after he gets rid of all them old guys with those bad contracts,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then start building for the future of that safety position since those guys are getting a little bit older. But I think he'll get a year or two more out of them.
For sure. For sure.
All right. Well, with that one, I think we can go ahead and move on to the Miami Dolphins,
All
who should
right.
have
All
a
right.
ton of space. And I did speak to this coach, and as far as free agency goes, he said, I mean, he has some notable guys such as Everson Griffin, Shaq Lawson, Agba, but from what he told me, he says he's locked up everybody that he wants to keep on contracts, and there's not anybody notable going to be leaving the team.
Okay, okay. Well, it looks like he hasn't re-signed Everson Griffin, haven't re-signed Ogba. Griffin is, at 34 years old, maybe over the hill, but I could see, someone coming and grabbing him up on the last day of free agency. He's also letting go of Jordan Reed, the tight end from the 49ers. He's 32 years old, but at 83 overall, let's go check his speed. Jordan Reed is still a star rating. Jordan Reed has 82 speed. Maybe someone can find some use for him. He's got the rookie Trey McKitty, who he's letting go in the free agency from Georgia. He's only a 78 overall, so I don't know if anybody's used him, but um, let's see what the losing Ogba and Griffin does to the roster. Let's see. He has Shaq Lawson still on the squad. He's got Christian Wilkins still on the squad. At D tackle, he's got a couple guys, so I don't think he'll need help with the front seven. You know what I'm saying? So he may be good with that. But for sure, he'll have a lot of money to make a splash in the free agency. And I'm just looking through the roster, and I'm not sure, if there's anything that really needs to be addressed with this team. Maybe he goes out and tries to get a safety, even though he has Dewan Fields and he's got Keanu Neal. Maybe he goes, I don't know. Maybe he goes for a running back, or maybe goes for a tight end, or maybe he goes to bolster his offensive line. It's just really tough. Well, he definitely gonna have to address his offensive line. I just feel for the Dolphins because they're in the tight division, squeezed in there with the Patriots, squeezed in with the Bills, and so he's gonna definitely need to make some moves in order to improve this roster. Because having not made the playoffs this season, if he doesn't make some drastic improvements, he could be in danger of missing the playoffs 2 seasons in a row.
Yeah, definitely looking at that O line, all low 70s besides one guy. So they definitely need to address that. He did a good job with the young wide receivers that he had, building them up and getting them up there. I could see him maybe possibly looking for an elite pass rusher since he's going to lose Griffin. And like you said, he has Lawson on the left and he has Wilkins on the right. But Wilkins is maybe a guy that with his size, 6'4", 315, 72 speed, you might look at moving him uh, to the second defensive tackle position and maybe look for a better edge rusher right there that's got some more speed and better ability to get to the quarterback. And then he'd have a
Hmm.
decent second run stopping option there with Christian Wilkins at defensive tackle if he did something like that. But just throwing out some ideas.
Yeah. Well, that's the beauty about the off season, man, is that there's so many unknowns and there's so much, possibility that's in the air that it'll be interesting to see, what teams like Miami with all the cap room they have choose to do in order to try to improve their roster.
Yeah, for sure. Those are going to be the fun ones to watch. The ones they're going to be able to just have a field day with their all their cap space.
For sure.
Uh, so the other team we have in that division is the Jets, who I think also has a pretty decent amount of cap too. Looking at
Yeah, for sure. Let's go ahead and take a look at it.
so he does have some notable guys. He has Lev Bell coming up for contract. He's got Quinnen Williams, Olivier Vernon, sorry, Marvin Jones Jr., Jamison Crowder, the ones that I could see here on Daddy Leagues. Quinnen Williams is one that sticks out to me right away.
Yeah, well, that's good. So yeah, Marvin Jones Jr., 32 years old, 82 overall. He's got D Jones, who's a 30-year-old D tackle. Now he's letting Sam Donald go. Sam Donald's out the door in Jersey. Maybe that's a guy that'd be out there for someone else to pick up. He's letting Herndon go, letting Crowder go, letting Jenkins go. He's letting a lot of guys go, man. So he'll definitely have a lot of space. He's got 34.8 million right now. Who knows, how much he'll have available as we go into the off season. But he'll definitely have some space to make some moves. He's letting a lot of guys go, bro. I don't know what maybe he has a master plan, but let's go ahead and look at his roster. So with no Sam Darnold, he doesn't have a quarterback. Running back position, he has Le'Veon Bell, and I know he's tired of the slow drag that he's had to deal with Le'Veon Bell. He's got Zamir White, who's a 89 overall. At the wide receiver position, letting go of Crowder, letting go of Jones. Really, the only guy he has left is Denzel Mims and Devonta Smith, who was a rookie this year out of Alabama. The tight end position, he's going to need to address that. The only guy he has on his roster is 73 speed Ryan Griffin. He's got a 79 speed Jay Ferguson, Trevon Wesco, who's a 76. So, yeah, he's going to definitely need to get a tight end. And knowing how this guy plays, he'll probably want to get a tight end that has some speed. Offensive line, he's going to need to address his offensive line. Still has Olivier Vernon under contract for one more season. He still has Quentin Williams under contract for one more season. He's going to need to get a D tackle. Get Matthew Judon at the outside linebacker, Mosley and Williamson at the middle linebacker position with Brian Cashman also. Outside linebacker, he has who's this T. Williams? He's got a Tim Williams, who's an outside linebacker. So his linebacking core seems to be intact. At the cornerback position, he's got Byron Poole, Paulson Adobo, Pierre Desir, who's 31, but Basan Austin, who's 76. Free safety, he's got Ashton Davis, DeMonte Casey, and he's got Marcus May. So yeah, he'll need to go out and get him a cornerback. He's going to need to get some front D linemen who he can use to maybe goes and makes a splash with a big D tackle coming and lock down the middle to go along with Quentin Williams and Olivier Vernon. Maybe looks to draft a D end in the draft, but he's going to definitely have to address his offensive line and all of his skill positions on offense. So, the Jets, for all the teams in the AFC East, the Jets are the ones who are definitely behind the eight ball in terms of roster composition as it stands now. And so he'll definitely be looking to make a lot of deals during the offseason.
Yeah, that's another one in a tough division with a pretty bad team that needs a lot of work. So the cornerbacks are getting
Definitely,
old.
definitely.
He's got a lot of building to do there. The linebackers, even though he's set, they're all up there in age. He doesn't really have anyone too young. Matthew Judon, 30 years old. C.J. Mosley, 30-year-old. Avery Williamson, 30 years old. Tim Williams, 28, not too bad, but he's already only 83 speed, and we know that's when they start to lose a step. So we'll see
Yeah,
where he goes with those. He's got some age at some positions, but he's also got some nice building blocks like Ashton Davis, 25-year-old with 92 speed at safety. So he's got the pieces, and he's going to have the cap. So I think it'd be interesting to see how he makes it out of this offseason. And I don't know who he's going to keep from there. I doubt he's going to bring those wide receivers back. I think he's going to let them go and roll with Devonta Smith and Mims and see who he can maybe pick up in free agency or the draft. But he's going to have plenty to spend, so we'll see what happens with him.
yeah. So the AFC East guys are going to have some money, man. They're going to be looking to make some splashes. So it'll be interesting to see, just how huge the arms race is as we go to hit free agency and see what guys become available.
For sure.
So what division did you want to jump to next? Did you want to maybe go across into the NFC East? We took a look at the AFC East, and maybe we can just hop back and forth.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, all right. So as we go ahead to take a look at the NFC East, how about we start with the team that finished bottom in the division this time around? So that would be
Cute.
the New
Giants.
York Football Giants. Yes, New York Football Giants. Looks like he's going to have a lot of cap space. He's got $46.6 million right now. And as we go to look at the players who have 0 years left on their contract, he's got a tight end, C. Uzuma, 75 overall. He's got a B. Scarlett at left outside linebacker. He's got a Joe Thomas tight end who's also hitting free agency. Garrett Bowles, right guard, 72 overall. Elijah Penny, running fullback, 71 overall. He's got a Chris Harris Jr. Chris Harris Jr. may be hitting free agency. He's 33 years old. He's going to be 34, but he's still a superstar. Still a 90 speed. I'm not too sure why he didn't retain the services of Chris Harris, but this may be a guy who some teams are really pining over. Maybe just for one season, if he doesn't regress too bad, that's a guy who will definitely make a splash in free agency.
Yeah, I did speak to Q, and he did say that his one notable free agency that he regretted not being able to lock down was Chris Harris Jr. He said he likes having that superstar corner on the team, but he said he wasn't able to work out a deal with them, and so he wanted more money than he was willing to pay, so he had to let him walk.
Yeah, just looking at the Giants roster, man, this offseason, while he may have some money, he's definitely going to have to be, a little, he's going to have to be careful with how he spends his money because coming up in the next year, he's going to have to re-sign Saquon Barkley. He's going to have re-sign Abukum, who's his superstar right end. He's going to have to re-sign Justin Coleman, Darius Slayton, Leonard Williams, Davin Tomlinson, Dexter Lawrence II, Daniel Jones, and
Jeez.
James Bradbury the fourth, Justin Love, Andrew Thomas the left tackle. Well, no, Andrew Thomas the left tackle was only there for 2 years, but Julian Love, Bradbury, Jones, Lawrence II, Tomlinson, Williams, Slayton, Coleman, Ibukum, and Barkley are all going to be re-signed in the same year. That is what's on the books for the Giants next season. So I see why he hesitated to pay Chris Harris Jr. Unfortunately, he may hesitate to spend money in this free agency. And so, you know, what does that spell for the New York Football Giants? Because losing all those players, it's not like he has guys on the roster who can really just come in and replace him. I'll let you go ahead.
Yeah, that's a lot of notable names. Jeez. Yeah, he's gonna have his work cut out for him on that one. Uh,
Yeah, man. Just the
and
and nah, go ahead. My fault.
No, you're good. I was just gonna say, and Q is gonna have to probably rely a lot on the draft, which worries me because Q's notably been known to kind of slack on the scouting and showing up to the draft before, but he seems pretty focused these last couple cycles, and he's been more involved in those. So hopefully that continues because he's gonna need it for this team because he's gonna have to kind of pinch the pennies until he gets those contracts signed, secured.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, he's got to re-sign these guys, or else he'll have holes in his team that are just going to be unforgivable. Because in the NFC East, he's going up against guys who do a lot of running. He's going up against guys who really have balanced offenses, and so his defense is going to need to be balanced. His offense is going to need to retain the weapons that he has, and so we'll see, what it is that he goes out to do, and just trying to bolster this roster. I would say that maybe he goes out and signs a cornerback to replace Chris Harris. He definitely has a lot of secondary guys on his team, though. That's the thing. He has a lot of flexibility in the secondary. He's got Julian Love, but he's also got Justin Coleman. He's also got Xavier McKinney. Also has Julius Peppers, and so he's definitely got some flexibility in his secondary. I would definitely think he would like to upgrade his linebacking core. In the middle, he has Nicholas Morrow and Dylan Cole, and I just don't know if that's good enough to get it done. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see um, how much money he's willing to spend, knowing what he has coming up in the next season to come off his books.
For sure, yeah, that'll be one to look out for sure. Maybe possibly he can make some trades for some guys he doesn't need to get a couple pieces he needs somewhere else a little cheaper. I think maybe that's given us a look into why a lot of people were saying, given natural criticism for trading Barkley for another superstar running back who was cheaper. But maybe that's why he did it. Maybe it was such a tight situation there that's why he had to let Barkley go. Just the contract was too big, and he wanted to shine. Daniel Jones and Darius Slayton were his two guys there, and now we're maybe getting a look into why he did that deal.
Yeah, the managerial aspect of maintaining your rosters in this league is really, I think it goes um, a little bit under the radar just how important these moves are to keep some of these rosters intact and to really go out and get players that can fill in positions to help you be successful, man.
For sure.
All right, so if we move off of the New York Giants, we'll go to the the Philadelphia Eagles. Um, and so this is a guy who's still in the playoffs. And just looking at the roster, we all know the cap position that these Eagles were in with season one. I mean, he had all of those huge contracts with the offensive linemen, with Carson Wentz, a bunch of aging defenders and receivers who you couldn't really do nothing with. But give Byrne credit, he's made the playoffs in season two, and coming off of the books this off season, he's got Vince Williams, who's 31 years old. What's this cat's name? Jannard Avery, who's got he's a right end, 74 overall. He's got Trent Edwards, or TJ Edwards, who's a middle linebacker, who's going into free agency. Deshaun Jackson, 34 years old, most likely will retire. He's got Josh Sweat, defensive end, who will hit free agency. 74 overall. This might be a guy who's highly sought after in the free agency pool. 85 speed, defensive end. Definitely a guy that could attack coming off the edge. He's got Alshon Jeffrey, who's 31 years old, finally coming off the books. He's got Rashad McLeod. Is his name Rashad? Rodney McLeod, 77 overall, coming off the books. Brandon Graham, defensive end, superstar, finally coming off the books. And so while I can't see what his cap will be next year, I do know that he will have a little breathing room and maybe have some flexibility. But he's definitely losing some players who I believe are key to that defense in Brandon Graham, in Rodney McLeod, in Josh Sweat. And so it'll be interesting to see.
We lost you there for a minute. You there?
My bad. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
My bad. It'll be interesting to see what he's able to do on defense in order to kind of, fill in some of the holes that he's going to have, freeing up some money this offseason.
Yeah, for sure. The Brandon Graham one's a big one because when you're facing him and you got Fletcher Cox in the middle, and then on the other side you got Brandon Graham, and they're both run stopping uh, D linemen. It's tough to pick a spot to run against him, and he's gonna lose Graham and those abilities. And I did speak to him, and it's not 100% that he's gonna lose Graham. He said he hasn't decided yet if he wants to try to re-sign him before. He wants to see how regression hits him first, and
Hmm.
he said he might have enough money to offer him a deal, but he wants to see how far he regresses before he offers him a deal.
Yeah, well, being able to re-sign him will be huge. And he definitely, Deshaun Jackson and Alshon Jeffrey coming off the books is huge. I mean, that's 28 million by itself right there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that
And
Jeffrey deal was
so,
ugly.
man, that Jeffrey deal was disgusting. Ugh, especially for Madden. But he's able to get those guys off the books. And so it'll be interesting to see, what the Eagles are able to do. The beauty of his team right now is his offense is fully intact. Carson Wentz is coming back. He's got Miles Sanders up to a 92 overall. At the wide receiver position, he didn't even have Alshon or Deshaun really starting or playing. He's got Jalen Rager. He's got Kiki QT. He's got this cat T Wallace. Arcega Whiteside. I mean, he had a lot of flexibility at the wide receiver position. He still has Zach Ertz. He still has Dallas Goddard. And so, I mean, it's looking good for Burns to just really be able to ride the strength of this offense into the sunset, until this cycle is complete. But he's definitely going to have some spots on defense that'll need to be addressed.
Yeah, he's done really well with the situation that he's been handled with this team. Only thing that disappoints me is this year not seeing JJ with them high shoulder pads and out on the field as often as last year. But you
For
you win
sure. Well,
some,
you
you
know what I'm
lose some.
saying? He's definitely kept the tradition alive because Big Cox has been in the backfield all this season.
Yeah,
So
he has.
salute to Burn, man, for keeping it, what I'm saying, for keeping the strength rolling down there in Philadelphia, man. All right, so coming up off of them, we go to another team that's been cash strapped this entire cycle in the Dallas Cowboys. And this is a squad that, has had some success, made the playoffs 2 seasons in a row. Oh, did CEO make the playoffs last year?
Yeah, he did. I actually played him in the first round. He beat me, and I think he lost in the second round.
Okay, so CEO is coming up on the free agency, and it looks like he's got a free safety, Darian Thompson, 71 overall, hitting free agency. Daryl Worley, cornerback. Dalton Schultz, tight end. All season he was trying to trade Michael Gallup. Looks like Michael Gallup will be hitting free agency. It looks like Connor Williams, left guard, will be hitting free agency. The only other notable is a T. Lancaster, 73 overall D tackle, and the punter Chris Jones. But other than that, it seems like the Cowboys will pretty much be bringing back the same squad that they had this season. And so I don't know if he'll have any money, man. Right now, he only has 10,000 in cap space, and he's not really letting anyone go who has a big contract. Um, free up. Let me see. He'll free up 2 million with his fullback. He'll free up 1.7 million with Connor Williams. Michael Gallup was on a rookie contract, so that doesn't really give him a lot of money. Daryl Worley was 2.7 on the cap this year. Darian Thompson 1.3. So he'll maybe have room to sign one or two guys. And so maybe we'll look to see him, try to get a wide receiver to replace Gallup that he's losing. I mean, he's pretty solid at the running back position. Quarterback is locked up. He still has Cooper and Lamb, so I think he'll be all right at the wide receiver position. Could maybe go out there and try to get a tight end, get some speed there. I think he'll look to address his offensive line in the draft. But yeah, his team's pretty much still intact. Defense is solid. That front seven, is pretty solid. His cornerbacks looking decent. He's got a Woozy, Brown, Diggs. Still has maybe he goes to try and get a guy in the secondary. The Cowboys could be a team that maybe goes out on day 2, day 3, tries to lock up one of those veterans, on a cheap deal. He's got Xavier Woods and let's see this guy, Richie Grant, who's a rookie. So it's pretty solid, man. But just another team that's cash strapped, and we'll see what he's able to do and how he's able to maneuver to possibly improve his team.
Yeah, yeah, I did speak to this coach, and I don't know if the other guys just weren't notable enough for him to mention, or if he found a way that he's going to be able to secure them. But from what he told me, he said going into the offseason, the only two people that he expects to lose are Michael Gallup and left guard Williams, Connor
Mm-hmm.
Williams. He said he did not have enough money to sign those guys, and those guys will be for sure hitting free agency. He doesn't have any plans to sign them. So I mean that's a solid. It's not very often that you see a 24-year-old left guard at 79 overall hit the free agency. So that'll be
For sure.
that'll be one that people will be bidding on, and I'm sure Michael Gallup will get some nice bids as well, being 25 years old and finally having that bump of speed this year up to 91. So
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. I might go out and try to grab Gallup because I need a solid number 2, and so that's gonna be a guy who definitely a lot of teams who especially need help on offense will be going looking to secure that guy. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, I could see him fitting your team well.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And so finally, moving on, we have the Washington football team, who, even though they're the team in first place in this division, they are the team that seems to have the most money to spend with the least amount to worry about. So let's go ahead and look at who they're releasing in the free agency. Another thing to mention also in PML, if you have a player who's, I believe, over 80, you get some type of a kickback in terms of, um, I'm not sure how the reward system is, but if you're releasing guys who are over 80, I believe there's some type of kickback for the team to better level up your players, you know what I'm saying, by losing that guy. So for the Cowboys to be losing Michael Gallup, maybe he takes, whatever I'm not sure what the system is we have in place, but I know there's something where you lose a guy who's over 80 something, you'll get some type of kickback. So maybe he uses that to boost up one of his other receivers, or maybe he takes it and tries to boost up that young cornerback he has. And so that's something that he'll be able to look forward to as well. But the football team is only going to looks like they'll only be losing D. Hamlin, who's a free safety, Two Hills, a 66 overall left end. He's got Greg Stroman, 73 overall cornerback, Peyton Barber, 74 overall running back, J.D. McKissick, Steven Sims, who's a wide receiver, 77 overall, L. Hamilton, who's a left outside linebacker, and G. Christian Sr. And so he's just losing a few guys, but he has 20.8 million in cap space now. Still has a very young team. He came in first place in the NFC East. And so, I don't know, maybe he goes out to secure a running back, even though this isn't really a running team. Maybe he takes that money and tries to go and grab a wide receiver like a Michael Gallup, because Steven Sims, in terms of ratings, is his number 2 right now. And so, maybe he goes out and tries to booster up his offense, add more firepower. Looks like he could use an offensive lineman. We already know what that front seven is looking like with, Montez Sweat, Chase Young, Ioannidis in the middle, Deron Payne. I mean, he's just a monstrous front seven. Every position is pretty solid. Cornerbacks are Fuller and Darby with Moreland and Moreau. You know, what's his name? Troy Apke is just destroying the league, playing at free safety position. So the team doesn't really need to do much, but they'll definitely have the luxury and the flexibility of having money to go out and sign, whoever they want to go and try to make their team better.
Yeah. One of the started off as one of the lower rated teams, but they got pieces at almost every position, so they got a lot of flexibility, like you said. I did speak to this coach, and like you said, the only two notable ones that he really noted that was notable to him was Steven Sims, the wide receiver, and the left outside linebacker, Sean Dion Hamilton. Those were the two that he mentioned that he thought was notable, that he knew that he wasn't going to be re-signing for the next season. So whether that was just because he wanted to move on from them, because I mean he should have the cap to re-sign those guys if he wanted to keep them. So maybe he just wants to go, elsewhere, and he'll be looking to spend that money in the offseason on better players, higher caliber players in that same position, or something along that line.
For sure, for sure. So it'll for sure be interesting to see, what that team looks like going into season 3. So that wraps it up for the NFC East. Did you have an idea where you wanted to go next? Because I kind of wanted to was interested in taking a look at the AFC South.
Yeah, we could do that.
All right, we'll go to the AFC South. We'll start with the team that came in last place, which is the Indianapolis Colts. This is a team who only has 6.7 million in cap space right now, but I'll go ahead and take a look at the guys who are hitting free agency. It looks like he'll be losing Chandler Jones. Chandler Jones, superstar X Factor, outside linebacker. He is 32 years old, so we'll see what regression does. Maybe he's waiting to see how he regresses. But this is a guy that could definitely be a veteran asset on a lot of rosters. He's got Desmond Trufant, cornerback. He's 31 years old, but he's an 82 overall. He'll be hitting free agency. Desmond Trufant is a star. He's still 91 speed, 84 zone coverage. Definitely regressing, but still serviceable. Got fullback Pat DeMarco, Kamiko Ture, left end 76 overall. He's got an M. Adams, 70 overall, left outside linebacker. Zaire Franklin, 65 overall middle linebacker. He's got Jordan Wilkins, running back, 72 overall. And that's it. Those are all the guys that'll be hitting free agency for the Indianapolis Colts. And so I think if he had the money, he would have re-signed Chandler Jones to just maybe a 1-year contract. So if Jones and Trufant are both hitting free agency, that could be potential splashes for some of these guys who need some veteran help on their rosters.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I do have some insider info on this. I did speak to this coach, and he said that he was split between Chandler Jones and Desmond Trufant, both being pains in the asses on the deals that he offered them. He said they both turned down the offers, so he had to choose between one of them that he's going to franchise tag. And since he did give up so much capital to acquire Chandler Jones, he is going to be hit with that tag in the offseason, and Trufant will hit free agency. And then he said also Jordan Wilkins will hit free agency as well.
Yeah, so if you'll hit Chandler Jones with the franchise tag, it's going to be a pretty hefty price. So he may not have any flexibility.
We lost you again.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, you're good now.
What that means is that his secondary is going to be, in a pretty bad position. He loses Desmond Trufant. He has Kenny Moore the second. He's got Kenny Sheffield. He's got Rocky Sin. But none of those guys are over 83 overall. And let's go look at the speed. Rocky Sin is a 90 speed. Kendall Sheffield, 94 speed. Okay, that's solid. And Kenny Moore the second is a 89. And so, yeah, you can get away with low rated guys if you got speed, but you can't get away with low rated guys who don't have speed, especially not in this division. In the AFC South, you're dealing with the likes of the Houston Texans with their, running gun offense, all the speed at different positions. You're dealing with the Jaguars with Trevor Lawrence, and was a running back out of Clemson. That guy, you got all the speed at wide receiver, and then you also got to deal with the Tennessee Titans, who are running Derrick Henry down your throat, Aaron Rodgers throwing deep to Kalfani Muhammad. So, I mean, it's really not with Kalfani Muhammad. I meant Khalif Raymond. You just got to have speed in your secondary. So losing Trufant is definitely going to hurt for the Indianapolis Colts. But I believe that may be the only area of their defense they may need to address, because he's still got Bobby Oriki. He's still got Darius Leonard, Chandler Jones. And so definitely in a position still to, have a solid front seven. But we'll see, man. He doesn't really have any money to maneuver, so it's tight. His wide receivers, Paris Campbell, Ty Hilton, T.Y. Hilton, Zach Pascal. He's going to have to keep getting it out the mud with Justin Taylor. So, I mean, it's tight, man. It's tight for the Colts.
Yeah, this seems like it's gonna have to be a maybe build from draft situation, with the way his cap sounds like. He's at least gonna keep Chandler Jones for the time being, but he'll have to deal with trying to re-sign him next year if he wants to keep him. If he does keep him, he might get rid of some ugly contracts soon if someone like Justin Houston were to retire, drop that contract. He could possibly look to maybe deal someone like DeForest Buckner, who's a 91 overall, which you don't really want to lose. But if you can get a couple pieces for him and save 11 million, you might look into that. But otherwise, I'm thinking he's probably going to have to build purely from the draft, because it doesn't seem like he's going to have a lot of options unless he makes a trade for a few pieces that saves him some money.
For sure, for sure. All right, so moving on to the team that came in third. Look at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Looks like they had 10.9 million in cap space this year. Got some pretty notable guys that look like they're hitting free agency. Colin Kaepernick, 79 overall quarterback, hitting free agency. He's 34 years old, but there's a couple seasons there where he didn't play. I don't know if Madden even takes that into account. But Colin Kaepernick will be hitting free agency. TJ Logan will be hitting free agency, 73 overall running back. P. Ryan, 72 overall running back, hitting free agency. Greg Olson, 82 overall, may be retiring. Looks like he's hitting free agency. Akeem Hicks, 91 overall, star D tackle, will be hitting free agency from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Sure, he may regress a bit, but that's definitely going to be a guy that if he hits free agency, a lot of teams can use a big guy to plug the middle. And so look for Akeem Nicks to be highly sought after in this free agency class.
For sure, yeah. I did speak to this coach, and I'm not 100% sure if, some people might be throwing out smoke screens, they might not. From what he said, it sounds like Hicks is going to stay on the team. I don't know if it's going to be a late resign after the season to see what regression looks like first. But from what he told me, he said the only two notable guys that he was going to lose was Colin Kaepernick and Greg Olson was the two that he mentioned, and then of course those halfbacks you mentioned, but he didn't really include them just because they weren't notable to him with what he's already got at that position. But yeah, he did not mention Hicks, so it's either a smokescreen or he plans to make some deal for him, or he was just keeping it on the down low that he's going to be hitting free agency.
Yeah, so we'll see what he's able to do, man. I mean, if Hicks does hit free agency, like I said, he will be one of the most sought after, big fish, so to speak, that'll be out there, and we'll see, what teams go after trying to capture that guy.
For sure. Yeah, I didn't realize. I thought maybe the Jags had a little bit more money than they did do. It's shown here they only got 10.91 million, which is enough to sign maybe a few guys, but nothing too crazy. He doesn't have a ton of flex room there, so I don't know what kind of big moves we might see him make. It looks like he's pretty set at the linebacker position. He's got good DBs.
Now, one of the things we haven't talked about, with the possibility of increasing, there's been some talk about increasing the fatigue sliders. A lot of guys are going to need to get some backups, and unfortunately, a lot of these teams are cash strapped, and a team like the Jaguars are going to suffer if he's not able to just run Travis Etienne into the ground. You know what I'm saying? Only running back he'll still have on the roster is Darrell Henderson Jr. It's 89 speed. He's got a Puka Williams, who's a 93 speed. Okay, so he's got two running backs that are there. Wide receiver wise, he's got DJ Shark, he's got Cooper Cup. He said he may move LaVisca Chenault Jr. back to the running back position. He's got D.D. Westbrook still out there. So, it definitely has a solid roster, man. He's got a team. He may look to replace a tight end. He's losing Greg Olson. Now, he does have Al Oak, blah, blah, blah. I just call him OK Al. He got OK Al, a tight end, 88 speed. The offensive line is pretty solid. I think it's one of the strengths of the Jags. Defense is definitely not hurting, for players. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, if he does let Akeem Nicks go, he still has a 92 overall. Josh Allen. He's got Kavon Chasen. He's got what is this cat's name? Taven Bryant, still under contract, 83 overall. So he can suffer the loss of Akeem Hicks and still be pretty solid defensively. Guys just gonna have to make the most of their roster and just really lock in if they're going to be able to improve their position in their division, especially a tough division like the AFC South.
Yeah, for sure. That and on defense, the tackle position where he might lose Hicks is really the only position I'd see that he'd need to maybe fill immediately. But even that's deceiving. He's got a 72 overall, 23-year-old rookie or 1 year in Daryl Middleton. But that 72 is deceiving, man. You look at his block shed. He's got 87 block shed out the gate. He's got 74 power moves. I mean, I don't know
Mm.
why he's so low, but
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know what I'm saying. Like I said, he's
probably
got some
awareness or
guys he can
something.
put. Yeah, he's got some guys. Yeah,
Oh, we lost you. There we go. I got you back now. Oh no, lost you. Lost you still.
can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, I was just saying, it's tough.
Oh, it's cutting in and out now. We lost you again. Sorry, everybody. Some technical difficulties.
Yeah, my bad.
No, you're good. I hear you now.
Yeah, yeah. I was just saying, they make the most out of the players they have on their roster. But we'll see what the Jags are able to do.
Yeah, I think Jags is in the right direction. People gave him a lot of crap for at the end of the season playing a lot of those young guys, but I think that was for him and kind of preparation for some of those things we might be seeing with the fatigue and stuff like that next season. Because when he was playing me, he was giving those guys like Puka Williams, the halfback, snaps to see how he looked, see how he played on the field. He was giving DJ Chark a break and giving looks to guys like Colin Johnson and Trayvon Grimes to see how they look playing at the wide receiver position. So they were giving him a little bit of crap for that, but I think he was kind of just preparing for that, knowing that we might see that fatigue increase on the next season and just seeing how his guys play out there, so that he's prepared for the next season, being that he was out of the playoffs already.
For sure, man. So I think next in the AFC South, we can go ahead and take a look at the Houston Texans. Houston Texans headed by Fallen. It looks here like he's got quite a few guys who may be hitting free agency. So we'll go ahead and run these names off. The big one, well, he's 18 million over the cap. So hitting free agency, 97 overall, 33-year-old J.J. Watt. Superstar X Factor, you know, it's just the number two ranked left end. He will be hitting free agency. Duke Johnson Jr., 28 years old, 89 speed running back, will be hitting free agency. David Johnson, the guy who was traded in order for Houston to get rid of Hopkins, 88 speed, pretty solid. Power running back. He's got a right guard, Fulton, Taco Charlton, defensive end, a 72 overall, Jordan Atkins, tight end, who's 83 speed, will be hitting free agency, and A.B. Jones. And so, doesn't look like there will be any. I'm not sure if he'll have any cap space. Let's see, J.J. Watt coming off the books, free 17 million from the book. So yeah, he definitely might have some cap space to play with. But you know, did you hear anything from the Texans in terms of re-signing JJ?
Yeah, I spoke to the Texans, and from what they said, J.J. Watt's going to be staying with the team. Because they
Okay.
said that they didn't say how they were signing them or what they were doing, but they said the only notable free agents that they were going to be losing was the two halfbacks and David Johnson and Duke Johnson. They were going to let those guys walk because they're content with their backfield with the young guys that they've picked up. But J.J. Watt does not seem to be a guy that's going to be hitting free agency, whether that's a smokescreen or he already has plans to re-sign him or has franchise tagged him and it just hasn't registered it yet. I don't know for sure, but he didn't mention him.
Yeah, well, he definitely has the ability to go ahead and franchise tag him. I mean, that would be a wise thing to do because this Texans defense, if he were to lose J.J. Watt, let me see. Yeah, if he loses J.J. Watt, he has nothing on that D line. That D line is garbage if he loses J.J. Watt. So
Yeah.
um, definitely should, that's the wise thing to do. You got an Asian veteran, you go ahead and franchise tag him and just deal with the consequences. And so looks like the Texans will pretty much be returning the same team for next season. We know he's got that rookie running back who run MVP of the league. So, I mean, what that running back now is at a 92 overall, and he is at 96 speed. Javian Hawkins, taking the league by storm. He's just, amazing. He's crushing it. So he can stand to lose those two running backs. Still got Will Fuller, still got Brandon Cook, still got Deshaun Watson, and so this team will definitely still be, a threat in that AFC South.
Yeah, for sure. They're a dangerous offensive team and on defense as well, as he's shown recently. But yeah, I was this team last year, and it's a tough one to navigate. It's a little bit better for him now because at least he doesn't have to deal with the contract of DeAndre Hopkins since he's left the team. because that's one guy that I think he would be considering signing either this year or next year. But one thing, did they have a contract for Watson yet? Is that already in
No, let
there?
me go ahead. Nah, let me go ahead and take a look and see if he's re-signed
Because
Deshaun
if
Watson.
not, I think he has to sign him next year.
Yeah, Watson. I believe this is the year he's coming up on his re-sign. Let's go ahead and take a look here. Actually, no, he's re-signed Deshaun. Deshaun has 4 years remaining, so he's already locked Deshaun Watson down.
Okay.
The guys who are coming up next year looks like he's got L. Johnson Jr. cornerback. He's got um, Tyson Howard as right tackle. He's got Keon Carlson cornerback. He's got Marquise Goodwin wide receiver. Brandon Roby, Garyon Conley, Jake Cook, Jared Cook is tight end. So he's gonna have a lot of guys he needs to resign next season. That losing them could put his team in a bad position. So we'll see how he handles all of his resigns next season. All three of his starting cornerbacks will need to be resigned, as well as the starting right tackle. So we'll see what effect that has on the team, as well as potentially having to re-sign JJ. JJ, if he doesn't, isn't able to sign him next season, we could see JJ Watt hitting free agency next year.
Yeah, for sure. Looking at some of the contracts, it looks like he does have some room to clear some guys and gain some money. I see Randall Cobb. He's 32 years old, 77 overall with only 89 speed. And if he were to cut him right now at the end of the season, he'd save himself $8.25 million just off him.
Yeah,
He could cut his 28-year-old safety and save 5 million. So there's room for him to grow. But the fact that he's already locked down Watson's contract, that's good news because I was worried if they hadn't put that contract in yet and he had to make that deal, that was going to be rough
yeah.
for him with what he got. But I think if he can franchise tag Watt, he should be good for the season and be able to go on from there.
For sure, for sure. So that leads us to the last but not least in the AFC South. You got the Tennessee Titans. Now, this is a team that is 19 million over the cap, over the 19 and a half over the cap. The only notable loss will be Ben Jones, who's the center, 33 years old, 78 overall. He's losing middle linebacker Patrick Onwuasor, who's a 74 overall. And this is a guy who went out in free agency and on the last day went and got some veterans for the D line. He'll be losing Marcel Darius, Carlos Dunlap, and Mike Daniels. And that's pretty much it. That'll be hitting free agency. So it looks like the Tennessee Titans will be pretty much retaining their team, returning the same team. Now I do know that Carlos Dunlap, was a big impact player for him on the defensive line. And so losing all of these veterans, I think their defensive line will be a weak spot for this team going into next year. He's got Jay Simmons Jr., and that's it on his D line. So his D line is going to be all 60 somethings. He will not have any money to re-sign any guys. He won't have any money to go for anyone in free agency. So it seems like this was the year for the Titans with that roster because there's just really no room for improvement going forward.
Yeah, yeah, this is going to be another one of those build from draft situations. It seemed like because he's got some positions to fill, like you said, linebacker position possibly or on the line. So he's only got two tight ends right now, and one of them's 31 years old. So
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough for him, bro. It's rough. So we'll see. We'll see how the Titans bounce back. This is a position. The beautiful thing about PML, like I said, those managerial skills come into play as we progress. And so going into season 3, Tennessee may be behind an 8 ball in terms of their ability to defend against some of these high-powered offenses that he's going to go up against.
yeah, and one thing to keep in mind is since he did pick up Aaron Rodgers in a trade, he's kind of paying two quarterbacks like a quarterback one wage right now because he's paying
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Tannehill big money. He's paying Aaron Rodgers big money. So that could clear up a lot there if he figures something out in that situation. I don't know how much it would cost him to cut Ryan Tannehill, but right now it's according to Madden, they're saying it would be a $10 million penalty, but he'd save 29 million. So that's a good chunk of change.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's definitely some flexibility there. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see what he's able to do. But that's somewhat of a luxury to have, to be in that position. But do you want to, cut Tannehill and possibly lose Rodgers after next season? I mean, who knows how many more seasons he's going to get out of Aaron Rodgers? And so it's definitely not only a guessing game, but it's really, you just got to weigh the cost. You know what I'm saying? You can cut Tannehill and get some money this season, but then you could be completely out of a quarterback going into season 4.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. He does have King, who's a nice mobile quarterback, but he's not going to be. He's only got 85 throw power, so he's not going to be the go-to guy unless you put a lot of content into that.
Yeah, that's garbage. I wouldn't, it's rough, but I would not depend on that, bro.
Yeah,
So he's
yeah,
just
me
really
either.
in a rough. He's really in a rough spot, and so he's gonna have to do some finagling in order to, keep that team competing, particularly in that division.
Yeah, just keep in mind, Titans. The offer is still on the table to take Kevin Byard off your hands. So if you need to clear some cap space that way, we will welcome him with open arms over here and take that burden off your shoulders.
For sure, for sure. Shameless plug, man. Shameless plug. So moving on, we can go ahead and take a look at the NFC South. What team finished last in the NFC South this season?
uh,
Was it the Panthers? Was it the Panthers?
I, shoot, I'm having trouble remembering. I think it was the Panthers.
I
I'm
think it
not
was
sure.
the Panthers. And so looking at the Panthers,
Or
man.
no, it was the
Uh,
Falcons. The Falcons were 4-12. Panthers were 5-11.
okay, Falcons. Oh, Falcons at 4-12, and they are 8.71 million over the cap, and so hitting free agency. It looks like this cat's name, Nasir Adderley, free safety, 74 overall, 88 speed, cornerback R. Williams, D tackle N. Jones, a bunch of guys who don't need to be named. Ricardo Allen will be hitting free agency. Ricardo Allen is a strong safety, 88 overall, 84 hit power. Let me see who else is worth mentioning. Bunch of nobodies, man. A bunch of nobodies hitting free agency. Ish Smith, running back. Ish Smith, who is a 91 speed running back, will be hitting free agency. Those are the pretty notable ones. Duke Riley, 71 overall. Jay Johnson, the third, out of Oregon, who is a 92 speed overall wide receiver, is hitting free agency. He's got a William Bradley King, who I believe is a guy that I drafted, just wasn't able to keep on the roster. He's hitting free agency. And so, Falcons are one of those teams, cash strapped, in a bad position. He's got an aging Matt Ryan, who's still on the contract for 2 years. He's got a Todd Gurley, the second, who's 93 overall, but he's still under contract. Wide receiver position, he's got Calvin Ridley, he's got Julio Jones, Michael Pittman. Um, he got a bunch of young guys. Just really in a bad position, man. I don't know. I don't know if Ant's going to be able to do anything to turn this roster around. He finished in last place this year. Their division, matchup doesn't get any better next year, I believe, with the NFC East and with the AFC North. It's just going to be rough for the Falcons to be able to do anything.
Yeah, yeah, they really, if they want to be able to make any noise at all in free agency, they need Matt Ryan to retire, which I highly doubt because I think even when I was playing with him way back in, well, a couple Maddens ago, but he lasted like the whole 5 cycles basically when I paid.
That's crazy.
So I don't know if he's
That's
gonna do
crazy.
that in this Madden or if they've made a change to that at all. But yeah, 2 years ago he lasted like that whole contract, and I hated it. I hated dealing with that, and unfortunately he doesn't really have anywhere that he can cut a ton of money. Uh, because the guys that are there that could save you money, you don't really want to cut from the team.
Yeah,
Besides
yeah,
maybe Dante Fowler is the only one I could see that could save him a good chunk of money that he might look to maybe deal because he's 28 years old, 82 overall, which is still a
yeah,
solid
yeah.
player, but could save him 15 mil by cutting him.
Yeah. Well, it's just like I said, it's definitely a tough position to be in, and That's a big part of PML is being able to make the moves and adjustments in order to be able to hang in there. Like last year, I believe what's his name that has the Bears. LQ Noble had Atlanta last year, and he made the playoffs and won the AFC South, I believe, every season. And so it can be done to take a team like Atlanta to be able to build them up and hang in there with them. But when you get behind the eight ball, like Ant did this season, it's pretty tough to climb out of that hole when you have a team that's cash strapped the way that they are.
Yeah, yeah, that's a tough one because I don't see him really building up too much in free agency. If he has a good draft, that'll help him a little bit. But this was kind of his year, his shot, while he still got Julio in his prime, or as prime as he's going to be before regression. And there's going to be probably a drop off here, and he already had a 4-12 season before the drop off, so it's gonna be tough for him. But I'll be rooting for him to figure that out, and maybe Matt Ryan will do him a favor and retire and give him some money so he can get rid of that
Yeah,
ugly ass
yeah.
contract.
Yeah,
Cause
for sure. Like he's got to pray the prayer of all prayers that that guy goes ahead and hangs it up. But we'll see what Matt Ryan decides to do. Also, it's a team that can build in the draft. I mean, he has a top 10 pick, I believe, and so maybe he's able to go out there and make a splash and get a player for a key position to really just keep his team playing at a high level.
for sure. And I
Mm.
did speak to this coach, and he did tell me for sure that it's confirmed that Ito Smith will be hitting free agency, and so will Ricardo Allen. Those were the two notable ones. Like you said, there was a lot of non-notable ones, but those were the two notable ones that he was going to be losing for
For
sure.
sure, for sure. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Carolina Panthers. This is a team who's going to be, doing a lot of teams favors with some of the guys that they'll be letting go. Now he's got 16.8 million in cap space, but it looks like he's letting Tevin Coleman go into free agency. Tevin Coleman, star development, 93 speed at the running back position, 91 juke move, 89 change of direction, hitting free agency. He also has a right outside linebacker, Jay Carter Jr., 71 overall, H. Sterling, 73 overall, right end hitting free agency. Here's the big ones. He's got Anthony Harris, who's a safety, free safety, 87 speed, but he's only 30. Well, he's 30 years old, hitting free agency. He's got Steven Nelson. Steven Nelson, who was a cornerback, converted to free safety, 88 speed, 84 man coverage, 79 zone. He'll be hitting free agency. He's got a defensive tackle, 89 overall, Danny Shelton. He'll be hitting free agency. And that's it for the Panthers. And then with the roster that the Panthers have, none of these guys that he's losing, or maybe one of the safeties, may hurt to lose the safeties. He's definitely needs to bolster his secondary. Maybe he goes out and tries to make a splash by acquiring. You're gonna have to acquire a corner or safety. Maybe get some help with his front seven. Well, no, I think he's good on the front seven. Um, Looking at the offensive line, maybe he tries to address the offensive line in the free agency or the draft. Maybe he tries to address the tight end position in free agency or the draft. Wide receiver, he's pretty solid. And of course, we know JT loves to keep a whole stable of runners in the backfield. So he doesn't have a problem at the running back position at all. So he can go ahead and let Tevin Coleman walk. That's going to definitely be, a prize pickup for somebody. Somebody, anybody in the league could use a 93 overall, 91 speed. I mean, 93 speed, 91 juke running back. So look for a lot of guys to go after Tevin Coleman in free agency.
Yeah, for sure. Especially like you said before, where we might be messing with the fatigue slider. Definitely need to have those guys that you can rotate and still have solid options all around. So that'd be a huge target to look for. I did speak to this coach, but I'm not going to go too in depth with it because, as he told me, he wrote a really nice article about his free agency, his whole thought process through it. That's on the PremierMadden.com website. So check that out. Show JT some love on his articles and peep that. And he's puts out there who he plans keeping and who he plans letting walk in free agency. Another thing to look out for with this team is now that he has Fields, he's got like 5, 6 quarterbacks. So you might maybe keep an eye out for one of those guys to hit the practice squad at some point whenever it comes down to cutting. If you're looking for a quarterback, so
Hmm. It's for sure good to know. Now we got the New Orleans Saints. No. We got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm tripping. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now this is a team that has a lot of cap freedom. 29 million in cap space. Let's look at who he's losing. Justin Pierre-Paul's hitting free agency. Snacks Harrison, senior, 86 overall, 33-year-old D tackles hitting free agency. 92 overall, 33-year-old Rob Gronkowski is hitting free agency. Tom Brady, God allow this guy to retire. He'll be out of our hair, I believe. He regressed tremendously. It's down to 84 overall. He should be retiring. And that's the last notable player that he has. So, but Tampa Bay will have some room to maneuver. I don't know if there's a free agent quarterback that'll be available, but he has Mariota, Trask, and Josh Rosen. At the running back position, he has Fournette and Jones. Wide receiver wise, he still has Mike Evans, who was under 30. See what else he got? Scotty Miller. He's got Chris Goodwin. He's got Terrence Marshall. So he's pretty set at the skill positions on offense. Even though he's losing Rob Gronkowski, he still has T.J. Howard, Cameron Brate. Rob Gronkowski is going to be a guy who's highly sought after in free agency. He's a tight end, superstar. He's only 80 speed, though. God, that's ugly. Rob Gronkowski is an old bastard. He's 80 speed, but he's 92 overall. At the tight end position, he has the tank and the red zone threat ability. The Buccaneers may look to, maybe bolster their offensive line. They're going to need to replace someone on the defensive line. Snacks Harrison's gone, so that means they only have Vita Vea, who's under contract still. Maybe he tries to sign Snacks, before it takes a look at the regression. Tries to keep Snacks Harrison on the defensive line. At linebacker, he's pretty solid. Doesn't need any help there. At the cornerback position, it's pretty solid. Doesn't need any help there. And safeties, he's pretty locked down. So the Buccaneers sort of returning the same team. The weakness is definitely going to be the quarterback position. So we'll see if he tries to address that in free agency, or if that's maybe tries to go out and draft a quarterback. He's going to definitely have to work hard to try and get back into the playoffs in that NFC.
yeah, for sure. He said he liked Mariota at the end of the season, but who knows? He did say his two notables were Tom Brady and Gronkowski if they didn't retire, which it's possible that both of them retire. But like you said, Gronk will definitely be sought after. If not, I'm not even sure that Tom Brady, if he doesn't retire, if he lands on the squad the way that he's regressed, and it's going to get even worse. He's already the slowest quarterback by far, basically a turtle at 60
Yeah,
speed.
yeah, yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy.
The Colts should pick up Tom Brady.
We'll definitely, we'll keep our eyes open to see what happens there. So, moving on to the last team in NFC South, we have the New Orleans Saints. Made it to the playoffs and were one and done as they were downed by the Dallas Cowboys. Let's go ahead and take a look at this Saints roster. Um, he's 2.31 million under the cap right now. We got some pretty notable guys hitting free agency. 31-year-old, 95 overall, left tackle Teron Armstead. Now I'm pretty sure if he knows what he's doing, he may go out to try and franchise tag this guy. Teron Armstead, superstar left tackle with secure protector and tough nut abilities. If he does hit free agency, he'll be highly sought after. Melvin Ingram, 83 overall running back, star development, 86 speed, but he's a good power back. He'll be hitting free agency. Let's see, Tavon Austin, 80 overall, at the running back position. Still 93 speed. He'll be hitting free agency. And a wide receiver, Traquan Smith out of UCF, 89 speed. He'll be hitting free agency as well. Um, and so, he should, if he doesn't re-sign that left tackle, I think that'll be a huge mistake. But that will free up some space for him to be able to, make some deals in free agency. At the wide receiver position, he's still got Michael Thomas, Deontay Harris, um, Antonio Callaway. So he's got some speed at the wide receiver position. Tight end, he has Anthony Lazard, A. Troutman. But if he lets Teron Armstead walk, man, everybody in free agency is going to be trying to lock that guy down.
Yeah, for sure. Those top tier linemen are hard to come by, and if I was him, I would franchise tag him, and even if you don't plan to keep him, I would franchise tag him, try to deal him, see if you can deal him before the end of the season, get something out of it. You definitely don't want to let him just walk for free.
Yeah, and I mean he's in a position where his team, doesn't really need too much on defense. He's definitely a team. He has a lot of young guys at key positions, so he's not in a position where you got to worry about anybody getting too old. But yeah, he definitely just wants to. I think he should just focus on re-signing the tackle, maybe building through the draft, and go back go into the next season, just trying to maintain the position that he's held in that NFC South.
God damn, look at that line, man. That is a beautiful line.
Luxury, bro. I'm looking at it like, man, mother. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, go ahead and let that tackle go. I'm going to get him. I'll drop all the money. Yeah, Toronto said it'd be a paid guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Mm.
sir. Does he have any notable contracts coming up? Is Cam
Let's
Jordan
go
due
ahead
for
and
a
see.
contract soon?
Um, Following season, he's got Marcus Davenport, Anthony Allen Anzalone. He's got his center McCoy. He's got a strong safety Gardner Johnson. Um, Wide receiver Antonio Callaway, defensive tackle Onyemata, Sheldon Rankins, D tackle. Those are good, and his punter Morstead. All those guys need to be signed next season. So that's definitely something that he may want to pay attention to when it comes to, going out and, you know, signing Armstead to a long deal or something like that. Maybe he knows that that's what's coming. Maybe that's why he hasn't signed Armstead. It'll be interesting to see what he does, but he'll definitely be strapped for cash. You know what I'm saying? Going into next this offseason, he should be okay, but going into next offseason, he may have no money. He may be, back cash strapped again.
Yeah, they are strapped for sure, and they're not even paying the number one quarterback. So he's lucky he's got that young guy for at
That
least
young
four
guy, yeah.
4 years, because that would hurt him to have to pay a
Yeah,
quarterback.
what a luxury it was for him to have Drew Brees retire while Tom Brady said, I'm going to hang my old ass around for a few more years. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah. The
So
way
that's kind of
Tom
crazy.
Brady's doing it doesn't look good for Matt Ryan. He might stay till
Not at
like
all, man.
50.
Mm-hmm. All right, so how about we go take a look at your division next? How about we go to the NFC West, take a trip to the West Coast,
You know what? I
and
was
take a look
gonna
what's going
say
on.
it's getting kind of late for me, so I was thinking maybe
That's
we
cool.
maybe we cut it up into two, and we did our four there. We'll do the other half tomorrow. How does that
That
sound?
works, man. That makes sense. That makes sense. Well, hey, man, I appreciate you, Mally, for inviting me on here. For everybody tuning in, man, I hope y'all appreciated the NFC East. I mean, we look what we took a look at the East and the South. NFC, AFC East, NFC, AFC South. Looked at those teams and their off-season prospects, and hope you guys enjoyed what we had to bring to you. It's PML. Y'all know how we do, man. It's your main man, Drama Man. Mally, holler at him before we get out of here.
Thanks, Drama Man. I appreciate you joining me and helping me get all that info. Hopefully, you guys got plenty of options to be looking at coming up for the off season. I know a lot of us are just waiting for that now, so hopefully this will give you some entertainment and something to look forward to coming up here in the season. Once again, I thank Drama Man for joining me, and we'll catch you guys with the other half tomorrow.
All right, we out.
We out.